Hello there, young explorers. I'm Emily, and I'm about to take you on the most incredible journey you've ever imagined. We're not just going to look at art, we're going to travel through time. That's right, each painting we'll explore is like a magical portal to another era. So, grab your imagination, and let's dive into the colorful world of art history. You know, when I first started learning about art, I thought it was just a bunch of old pictures hanging on museum walls. Boy, was I wrong! It turns out, these paintings are like windows to the past, present, and even the future. They are packed with stories, secrets, and surprises just waiting to be discovered. And the best part, you need a fancy time machine to visit these different periods. All you need is your eyes and a little bit of curiosity. Let's start our adventure by talking about how art is like a magical time machine. Imagine you're standing in front of a huge painting. It's not just splashes of color on canvas. It's a doorway to another time and place. Each brushstroke, each tiny detail, is telling you a story about when and where it was created. It's like the artist is whispering secrets from the past, right into your ear. For example, when you look at a painting of ancient Rome, you're not just seeing buildings and people, you're getting a glimpse of how people lived thousands of years ago. What clothes did they wear? What did their homes look like? What kind of food did they eat? All these clues are hidden in the artwork, waiting for sharp-eyed detectives like you to spot them. And it's not just about seeing what things looked like. Art can show us how people felt in different times too. A painting might show a celebration, with bright colors and happy faces, telling us about a joyful moment in history. Or it might use dark, gloomy colors to show us a sad or scary time. It's like being able to feel what people felt hundreds or even thousands of years ago. When we look at these masterpieces, it's almost like we can step right into them. Imagine if you could walk into a painting of a medieval castle. You'd hear the clang of swords, smell the smoke from the torches, and feel the cold stone walls. That's the magic of art. It lets us experience life in different eras as if we were really there. Now, let's zoom in on some of the most famous artworks in history. These aren't just pretty pictures. There are tickets to some of the most exciting times in the past. First stop, the Renaissance. And who better to guide us than the master himself, Leonardo da Vinci. Picture this! You're in Leonardo's workshop. It's filled with strange machines, half-finished paintings, and notebooks crammed with sketches and scribbles. Leonardo wasn't just an artist. He was a scientist, an inventor, and a dreamer. When you look at his paintings, like the famous Mona Lisa, you're not just seeing a portrait. You're seeing a world where art and science dance together in perfect harmony. Leonardo was always asking questions, always trying to understand how things worked. He'd dissect bodies to learn about muscles and bones, then use that knowledge to make his paintings look more real than ever before. It's like he had extra vision, seeing beneath the surface of things. And when you look at his art, you get to see the world through his curious, brilliant eyes. But let's fast forward a few hundred years and jump into the swirling, colorful world of Vincent van Gogh. Now, if Leonardo's art was like a carefully planned scientific experiment, Van Gogh's paintings are like an explosion of emotion on canvas. When you look at a Van Gogh painting, like the Starry Night, you're not just seeing stars and a village. You're feeling what Van Gogh felt when he looked up at the night sky. Those swirling brushstrokes? That's the wind rushing through the trees. Those bright, bold colors. That's the excitement and wonder Van Gogh felt about the world around him. Van Gogh's art teaches us that paintings don't always have to look exactly like what we see with our eyes. They can show us what we feel in our hearts. It's like he's saying, hey, kids, don't just look at the world, feel it, experience it, and then splash those feelings all over your canvas. Now, let's take an even bigger leap back in time, all the way to ancient Egypt. Imagine you're standing in front of a huge wall covered in colorful pictures and strange symbols. These aren't just decorations, they're stories, myths, and messages from thousands of years ago. Egyptian art is like a comic book from the past. Each picture tells part of a story. And if you know how to read the hieroglyphs, you can uncover amazing tales of pharaohs, gods, and magical creatures. You might see a painting of the pharaoh, larger than life, battling his enemies. Or you could find a scene showing the journey to the afterlife, complete with boats, monsters, and magical spells. These ancient artworks aren't just beautiful, they're packed with information about how the Egyptians lived, what they believed, and what was important to them. It's like they left us a giant, colorful history book right on their walls. Now that we've traveled through time with art, let's think about how these masterpieces connect the past, present, and future. Art is like a mirror that reflects the time when it was created. When we look at a painting from long ago, we're seeing a snapshot of that moment in history. For example, if you look at paintings from the Middle Ages, you'll see lots of religious scenes. That's because religion was super important to people back then. But if you look at art from the 1960s, you might see bright colors, wild patterns, and pictures of rock stars. It's like each era has its own artistic fingerprint. But art doesn't just show us the past, it can help us understand the present too. When artists today create paintings, sculptures, or even digital art, they're often commenting on what's happening in our world right now. They might make art about climate change, technology, or social issues. It is like they're recreating a time capsule for future generations to understand what life was like in our time. And speaking of the future, art can help us imagine what's to come. Science fiction writers and artists have been dreaming up future worlds for years. Sometimes, their wild ideas even come true. Who knows? The flying cars or robot helpers you see in a futuristic painting today might be real someday. Art also lets us dream big about the future. When you create your own art, you're not limited by what exists now. You can invent new worlds, design incredible machines, or imagine what life might be like on other planets. Your artwork could inspire the scientists and inventors of tomorrow. So, the next time you visit a museum or open an art book, remember, you're not just looking at pictures. You're stepping into a time machine that can take you anywhere in history or even into the future. Each painting is a new adventure waiting to happen, a new world to explore. And here's the really exciting part. You won't have to be a famous artist to be part of this grand adventure. Every time you draw, paint, or create something, you're adding your own chapter to the big, colorful story of art history. Who knows? Maybe someday, kids in the future will be looking at your art, trying to understand what life was like in our time. So, grab your pencils, your paints, or even your computer, and start creating. Let your imagination run wild. Paint your dreams, draw your fears, sculpt your hopes, because every masterpiece, every duel, every creative idea is a brushstroke in the grand painting of human history. Remember, art isn't just about making pretty pictures. It's about expressing yourself, understanding others, and leaving your mark on the world. It's a conversation that's been going on for thousands of years. And now it's your turn to join in. So what are you waiting for? Your art adventure starts now. That's all for our time-traveling art tours today. I hope you're feeling inspired to look at art with new eyes and maybe create some of your own. Remember, every great artist started as a kid with a big imagination just like you. So keep exploring, keep creating, and who knows, maybe one day we'll be time-traveling through your masterpieces. Until next time, keep your paintbrushes ready and your imaginations soaring.